Greetings, Otaku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to bring you yet again another Manga of the Month segment right here on Otaku Assemble! Weekly. As always, I'm here to bring you the latest in this month's Manga of the Month segment. And what better way to wrap up October right here on OAW, which was officially declared Samurai Month. What better way to wrap up the Samurai Month videos than with my first impressions review of Vagabond. Now, well, as you all can see, I went ahead and I picked this up. This is Vagabond by Takehiko Inoue. And it's based on Musashi by Eiji Yoshikawa. And this is the Viz Big edition, which is a compilation of the first 3 volumes, which covers the first 31 chapters of the manga. I went ahead, I picked this up because, let's face it, you know, with the whole digital media versus physical media discussion, especially that's been going on recently because of the announcement of Shonen Jump Alpha. You know, that whole thing about, I like my digital manga, and oh no, I like my hard copy manga. I like my hard copy manga, and this is a highly anticipated manga for me. I've been meaning to pick this up for months, and I just went up, you know, Samurai Month. I was like, hey, what better manga of the month to review for Samurai Month than Vagabond, right? I've been meaning to pick it up for a long time. Fuck it, let's just go ahead and do it. And I'm gonna tell you this, I dropped 20 bucks on this, and I am not at all disappointed. This is well worth the price. Well worth the price. I do not regret picking this thing up at all. So yeah, let's get into this review. Now, if you all can see, if you can see where my bookmark is, I've completed the first 2 volumes, which is the first 21 chapters, and that's what this first impressions review is going to be based off of, the first 2 volumes. So, Vagabond. Vagabond tells the story of Musashi Miyamoto. That name might sound familiar to those of you who are big anime fans and those of you who know anything about samurais or Japanese history. Why? Because Musashi Miyamoto is the quintessential samurai. He's the most celebrated samurai of all time, and he is also the author of A Book of 5 Rings. And if any of you all don't know what the Book of 5 Rings is, A Book of 5 Rings is it's a theoretical, philosophical military strategy. It's pretty much the Japanese it's like the Japanese counterpart of Sun Tzu's The Art of War. As you all know, The Art of War, Sun Tzu, that Chinese. Musashi Miyamoto wrote A Book of 5 Rings, which is Japanese. And like I said, he's pretty much the most famous samurai that ever lived. So Vagabond tells the story of a young Musashi Miyamoto back when he was still using his childhood name of Takuzo Shinmen. And the story takes place right after, in the wake of the Battle of Sekigahara. And what happened with Takuzo is that Takuzo and his childhood friend Madahachi, they fought in the Battle of Sekigahara, but they were on the losing team. And any of you all who know anything about Japanese history, and especially the Battle of Sekigahara, you know, the losing team, yeah, pretty much what happened, well, the winning team, what they did was, when they wiped out the enemy, they went and they tracked down and hunted all of the survivors. I mean, let's face it, because the team that Takuzo and Madahachi were on, you know, that was opposing the major authority. So of course the winners, they don't want any riffraffs running around, so they gotta eradicate them. They gotta take them out, right? So, and that's what happens with Takuzo and Madahachi, is that they spend the first volume of the manga being hunted. But then of course, they encounter some other characters, and other confrontations ensue, which force Takuzo and Madahachi to part ways. In the second volume, Takehiko returns to his village, Miyamoto Village, which is where he got his famed last name from. And he returns to Miyamoto Village to pretty much let Matahachi's family know that, hey, Matahachi is still alive. However, he's not returning to the village. Me and him, we've parted ways. He is still good. I just want to put you all at ease and let you know he won't be returning. But then, of course, things don't go Takehiko's way. Why? Because Matahachi's mother has it out for him. She's never really liked for him, nor has anyone else in his village. He's pretty much hated by his village. Why? Because, like I said before, he's a street rat. He's a rift rat. He's a vagabond. So no one really cares for him. All except Otsu. Otsu is Matahachi's fiance. Well, now ex-fiance. And she was also a childhood friend of Takehiko. So pretty much Takehiko returns to the village. He winds up being hunted down by the people in the village. And he befriends Otsu. And he also befriends a monk named, I pronounce his name Takuan. His name is spelled Takuan, and I'm not sure how that's supposed to be pronounced. Takuan, maybe? I pronounce it Takuan because it's easier. It's two syllables, Takuan. Boom, there it is. But yes, so pretty much Takehiko befriends Otsu and Takuan, and throughout the second volume, he is pretty much it's pretty much his coming to terms with his origin, coming to terms with his childhood, coming to terms with his village, and pretty much getting a new outlook on life, getting a new perspective on his life. So not to make this video too long, let's go ahead and let's jump into the actual critique of the manga. First and foremost, what I have to let you all know is the artwork. The artwork in this book is phenomenal. I'm talking about the artwork is beautiful. I'm just gonna go ahead and skim through this a bit, pull out some of my favorite pages. This is Takehiko. This is the page in which he's formally, well, when he's first introduced in the series. Beautifully drawn, beautifully drawn. Some of the color pages, beautiful artwork, just top notch. Let's see. There is, okay, just so I can show you the other major players in this series. This is, I would have showed y'all Matahachi, but come to find out he's not that big of a player in the series because he's only in the first volume. But let's see if we can find a picture. I had a picture of Otsu. Oh, this is Takuan, the monk. Him and Takehiko, another one of the colored pages. Let's see, where my baby Otsu at? Where you at, girl? Otsu. Oh, give me a minute. Otsu. Beautiful Otsu. How can a dude pass up on that? I don't know, that nigga crazy. But I mean, oh, and then some of the action scenes in this are phenomenally drawn. I mean, shit, let me see if I can find, where is it? It is. Look at this. Beautiful, beautiful artwork, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, just phenomenal. Where is the one? I'm looking for the one with when Takuan and the ninja met up. This. Look at this. Beautifully drawn. Okay, so anyway, so like I said, the artwork, one thing I did like about the artwork in this book though is that At the end of each chapter, the mangaka actually, like, they placed some of his sketches, you know, just little sketches at the end of each chapter. And, you know, when you see the sketch, you know, oh, that's from, you know, this panel on this page in the previous chapter. But looking at, like, the preliminary sketches and then the final piece, like, it's so well done. I mean, it doesn't even look like it's sketched. It's sketched because it's so worked on. You follow, it seems like every panel is done with such a precision, as precise as fucking swordsmanship, literally. I mean, and then, oh, like I said, the shading, really well done. The inking is so precise. It's on point. Not a fucking, it doesn't miss a cinch. It doesn't miss an inch. It is on point, people. It's on point. Okay, now going into the story. One thing that I really did dig about the story was the fact that it's the story of Musashi Miyamoto. I mean, I knew Vagabond was a historical fiction. That's why I picked it up. Because I'm a big fan of historical fictions, especially samurai pieces. But I did not know that the main character was a historical figure. I figured, you know, okay, you're going to see some historical figures in this. I pretty much figured that. But I didn't know that this was Musashi. Didn't know it. And see, and when I found that out, I immediately jumped in it. Why? Because two things come from writing historical fiction with a historical character. You either do one or two things. Either one, you tell a fictional account of a historical character, or two, you tell a dramatized account that is actually historically accurate with the historical character. So either way it goes, it's going to be a fun time. It's either an original story with a historical character or a dramatized true story of the character. I think this might actually be a little bit of both. I mean, because, you know, I've read about the life of Musashi Miyamoto, and that's why I think some of these events, well, many of these events, I would have to believe are fictional, but some of them are accurate though. Some of them are accurate, especially with the character of Takezo. How his perception on things, the way he behaves, his attitude, the way he carries himself, his persona, that's Musashi Miyamoto. It's a young version of him because he's 17 in this book, but that's pretty damn accurate about the character. Because if any of you know anything about Musashi Miyamoto, you'll know that he did not become the great sage that he was, you know, the great swordsman that he was, until he went into solitude in the mountains, training for years and years and years. And, you know, it's that classical story of, you know, the warrior who goes off on this soul-searching like journey, and he goes training in solitude for years, and then he comes out this great master of swordsmanship. That's what really happened with Musashi Miyamoto. Which does have me wondering though, because like I said, I'm only through the first 2 volumes, but I'm wondering, what I'm hoping for is that by the end of this series, we see him fully fledged Musashi Miyamoto. Because for all intents and purposes, Vagabond is an origin story. The whole thing is an origin story. And I dig that, you know, to draw another comparison to another origin story I really like. Don't give a shit what anyone says. Smallville. I'm a huge fan of Smallville. I absolutely love the series. One of the things I liked so much about Smallville was that it took an iconic character like Superman, one that we all knew about, and it told you how he rose to become that icon. Same thing with Vagabond. This is Musashi Miyamoto. We know who he is. We know what his destiny is. It seems like this book is telling you how he got there. And I'm hoping that by the end of it, we see him full-fledged, you know, full-fledged samurai, full-fledged master, full-fledged author, full-fledged philosopher, full-fledged sage. I'm hoping we see that. So the story in itself is really fucking good. Especially The second volume, when we get introduced to Otsu and Taquan, especially the character of Taquan, the dialogue that Taquan has, Taquan's the monk. He's supposed to be he's somewhat of a mentor figure. But yeah, his dialogue is really good. And if in fact they're trying to tell you the story that if they're trying to tell you the story that Takazo and this monk were really close, you could see how some of the monk's wisdom would rub off on him. You follow? So it works really well. But with that said, since I started talking about the characters, let me actually talk about the characters, because Takazo, one thing I like about this book immediately off the bat is that all of the characters are likable. Takazo is very likable. For all intents and purposes, he is a ruffian. He is somewhat of a simpleton. I'm not talking about a simpleton like Goku or Luffy are simpletons. No, he's not stupid. Okay, he's just not as, actually no, Takazo is actually relatively intelligent. He's very street smart, which back then in feudal Japan, that was a little bit more necessary. That was a little bit more essential. You didn't have to be a scholar, but you had to be fucking street smart. Takazo is very street smart. Another thing I like about Takazo, he's very confident. He doesn't question himself, and it's not out of being conceited. It's not like, oh, I never question myself, I never doubt myself because I know I'm the shit. It's nothing like that. It's just that, look, like he says multiple times. He says multiple times how he wants to be strong, right? Now, tell me if you've heard this before. I want to be the strongest warrior that's ever lived. We've heard that. We've seen that many times before. But we actually find out why. We find out why he's like that. His attitude about people and his attitude about strength. How he views himself as being either strong or weak. The way he is, in the second volume, we get so much info about this character. It's damn good character development. Early on character development too, man. A lot of these characters get developed early. Really early. And then, like Taquan, like I mentioned earlier, I really enjoy his character. Why? Because Taquan, like I said, he is the mentor figure. However, he doesn't come off like a know-it-all old man. Taquan, for all intents and purposes, he comes off as like a big brother. Because he's not that much older than Takazo. And like I said, he doesn't look like an old man. He's middle-aged. But the way he speaks, Taquan is a bit of a sarcastic asshole at times. Which I like. I like that. Especially like the scene when he's criticizing the samurai in charge of the manhunt for Takazo. He called him incompetent. But it's not just that he called him incompetent, but he explained to him why he's incompetent. And then, of course, the samurai, he could only respond with, oh, I'm going to cut you down. And it's like, okay, fine, cut me down. But you're still incompetent. Regardless of how you feel about the situation, even if you were to cut my head off, at the end of the day, you would still be incompetent. You woke up incompetent. You will go to sleep incompetent. And you'll wake up tomorrow incompetent. Like, that type of shit. I love Taquan for that shit. That shit was hilarious. That shit was phenomenal. And then, of course, in the second volume, he helps Takazo get a new lease on life. He helps him get a new outlook, a new perspective on life. So that's why I said, like, it seems like I don't get the feeling of a father figure here. I get the feeling of a big brother figure, and I'm a huge fan of the big brother characters in anime and manga. Some of my favorite characters are all a lot of them are big brother characters. I get attracted to those type of characters. I'm talking about Edward Elric, big brother character. Shishomaru, big brother character. Itachi, big brother character. Byakuya Kuchiki, big brother character. I like those the elder brother characters. And I feel like Taquan fits that build more than just being like the mentor figure, the old man figure, And then Otsu, while she wasn't developed a lot in the first two volumes, but you did get a solid foundation on her. She's an orphan. She is a childhood friend of Takazo and Madahachi. She was supposed to marry into Matahachi's family. Matahachi abandoned her. She took that as, Matahachi decided to go off with another woman. And Otsu took that as being abandoned. Why? Because her whole entire life, she was first off, she was abandoned by the two people who were supposed to care for her most. And that's her parents. You see what I'm saying? So this love of her life abandoned her. So it's like, you see what I'm saying? Not much character development, but a solid foundation where you know this is the character, this is why they are what they are, this is their reasoning for doing what they're doing. So, I mean, in that aspect, this book is really good. Also, the way the characters are introduced. I love how all the characters are introduced through interaction. You see what I'm saying? There is only one character. There's only one character that you hear of before that character is actually introduced in the first 2 volumes. For the most part, every character is introduced through interaction with the main characters, and that's a great way to introduce characters. Yeah, the characters' introductions are really good in this book. And a lot of times you kind of get like this 6 degree of separation feeling between all the characters. Like at one point in the story, it does feel like everybody knows everybody else through 6 degrees of separation or some shit like that. You know, like they have a mutual friend or they know of a mutual person or they have a mutual acquaintance, something like that. It gives you this feel that Japan is a lot more close knit than you might think. I mean, it is a country and is a country divided by war because this is feudal Japan. This is the warring states. But it seems like, you know, you get that feel that, you know, these villages have that really tight sense of community, which works very well. Especially, it works a very good dynamic with the main character of Takazo, who's a vagabond, who's naturally a loner. And then he goes into these villages with these tight-knit communities. It creates a nice dynamic, and it does make Takazo stand out as the stranger. You see what I'm saying? It calls more attention to the character, and it builds up more about that character's persona. Okay, so what else do I want to talk about? The pacing, very well. I mean, shit. I ran through the first 2 volumes in like 2 days because I've only been reading this at work, and I picked this up on Monday, and I'm already at the 3rd volume, and I've only read it Tuesday and Thursday night. So, I mean, the pacing is very well done. Very, it doesn't bullshit around. Well, the first volume is paced quickly. Things tend to slow down in the 2nd volume, but that's because it's building up for the conclusion of the 2nd volume. So that change in pace is actually excused. There's a reason why it slows down in the 2nd volume, because that's when we get a lot of backstory. But other than that, man, not to make this video any longer than it already has. My final thoughts on the series so far, this series is a 5 out of 5. This series is good. I highly recommend it. Keep in mind, it is rated M for mature because of some of the violence. And there's not much nudity. There's very little nudity. There is some nudity, but it's very small. And the language isn't that bad either. It's just the violent material. It's not graphic, especially for the fact that in the first 2 volumes, Takazo uses a bokken, you know, a wooden stick. So the violence isn't that graphic, not at all. It's the right amount of graphic for this type of story. It's the right amount. But yeah, 5 out of 5. Definitely, I definitely recommend you guys picking this up if you haven't read it. I do believe Manga Reader has it. I'm pretty sure Manga Fox has it too. But I highly recommend the Viz Bigs. $20 for 3 volumes. That's actually let's see, how much does a volume usually cost? Like $7 or $8. 7, 14, $21. So it's about the same price as just buying the 3 volumes. But I mean, why not just buy them all in one compilation, right? Yeah. And and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wrap up this review with the praise, because apparently all the praise for this book has been it's been placed at the end of the book, and I just stumbled on this the other day. So Vagabond is the winner of the 2000 Media Arts Festival Award, the recipient of the 2000 Kodansha Award for Best Manga, winner of the 2002 Tezuka Osamu Cultural Award, and it's nominated for the 2003 Eisner Award for Best Writer / Artist. So yes, Takehiko Inoue, he did this. Inoue, he did this. Good book. Like I said, 5 out of 5 stars. A+, in my opinion. Great fucking manga. This is, I wish I could read more shit like this, and I will probably pick up all these. Depending on how the 3rd volume ends, I might wind up picking them all up. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap this video up. Once again, I want to thank you all for joining me, and thank you all for for watching, for all your input and whatnot, all your feedback for my Samurai Month videos, my Samurai X, my Rurouni Kenshin review, my Samurai X review, my Shiguri review, and of course Vagabond. But with all that said, this is Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief. I'm signing off, and until next time, guys, peace.